Remember, educate before you delegate. Hello, and thanks for tuning in to When It Comes Down to It. In this episode, we're going to be talking about how to educate for success. A lot of people think all we have to do is hand somebody a book or send somebody to a course and they're going to be successful. That can happen sometimes, but truly you want to make sure that you have a plan so that when you educate someone, you're giving them the education they need and all of the education they need to be successful. So one of the first things you want to do in this basic 5-step program is identify the requirements of the task or job description that is to be performed by this individual. In other words, it's an assess and inspect stage of what it requires in order for this project to be done, completed properly on time. So we need to take a look at everything involved in that. Now, if you don't already have that job description written out or that task description written out, you're going to have to make one, obviously. And always remember the 3 main categories that you have to have in each one of these tasks or job descriptions is administration. So any paperwork or any communications the individual is going to have back with the administration department, we want to make sure that's covered and taken care of. So we communicate properly. Biggest issue in almost every company. Secondly is the legal aspect of things. What type of regulatory or health and safety or any other type of legal aspect that these individuals are going to fall under? Now, almost all of us in the restoration world and in the contracting world are going to wind up with a certain amount of health and safety requirements before we go out onto the job site. Something as simple as global harmonization, slip, trips, and falls, or maybe it's as serious as we need to get them an OSHA 10-hour. Whatever it happens to be, we need to focus on that second step of legal besides the administration. And the third step in developing this requisition or this flow that we're going to develop is going to be the technical operation side of things. So what type of theory or science or what type of taught education does the individual need to go through? So do they need to learn how to use spray applicators properly? Is it how to set up dehumidifiers? Whatever the technical issue is, that's all in the theory. Now, once you have the theory, you have to have the practical. We got to make sure that they understood what they learned in the theory and can actually apply it and do the task in the field so it's successful. So you're going to have to do some practical analysis training at that point in time. And then, of course, lastly is one that a lot of people forget is soft skills. A lot of owners and a lot of managers already know a lot about soft skills because we're communicating and we're always trying to be politically correct and everything else, and that's really what soft skills is about. Not everybody is born with soft skills. Most people aren't. They're taught soft skills. So make sure your technician knows things like don't smoke and throw cigarettes on their driveway, don't track mud into the house. Most importantly is don't put tool bags or cleaners on counters or things like that. And of course, we've got a lot of information to help you out with developing that. But the most important thing is you have to begin with the end in mind, as Stephen Covey says, and that means we've got to make absolutely sure we've defined the criteria that's necessary for that task or job description to be provided, and then we're going to go ahead and make sure we get a candidate that fits, as we had said previously, psychologically or basically personality-wise into that fit, and then we got to educate them. So if you don't know what the job is going to take, then how do you know what to train them on? That's the bottom line there. Now, step number 2 is the candidate's capability. So we hire in somebody for the job. We've developed a job description and we hire in somebody for that job. And what we're going to do is look at each step of the process they need to perform out in the field, and we're going to see how well they can perform those steps. Once we identify any skill gaps, which is really step number 3, we look at what the job needs, list A, the candidate can provide, list B, and we basically subtract all of the things they do well from the description, and that leaves us with what? The things we need to educate the individual on in order to fulfill the job task. So that's number 3, identifying the skill gap that the candidate has for that position. Number 4, once we've identified that skill gap, we're going to sit down with the candidate and develop a learning path. Hey, you need to learn these 9 things in order to perform this task. Which one do you want to start with first? Which one do you want to do second? Which one do you want to do third? And like we said, small pieces, make them achievable, so the candidate what? Has that morale of achievement continuing going. Don't hit them all at once, make it hard for them. They could fail. That's a bad concept, and we don't want to do that. So small, easy steps in that skill gap. So with that candidate, like we said in step 4, we're going to establish the goal, which is them being able to achieve that job and other jobs successfully. And what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what milestones need to be achieved. So if again, it's 7 pieces of information, maybe we do it over 7 weeks. Maybe we do 2 a week. However we're going to do it, we're going to set forth those milestones so that there's expectations of that candidate to finish properly and successfully pass each milestone as they're coming up. And that way you know that that person is moving towards the end goal, which of course is successful candidate and performing the task. Now last, and biggest one probably of all of them, other than the first one, is assisting and assessing for success. That literally means we're going to assist that individual moving through their program. So if they get into a program, they've got questions, they need to talk to somebody. You need to make sure someone's available so that they can contact that person and get clarity on how this fits inside of the company. Then secondly, we want to assess it. So we talked about milestones. After every milestone, how well did you do? Scored a 95. Excellent, man. That's beautiful. But you still might want to even ask the candidate 4 or 5 questions you know are basic questions just to make sure that what? They still retain it even after passing the test. That's the assessment part of it. If you assist them through the process of learning, and you assess them at the individual milestones, what's going to happen is you're going to have an educated, confident person at the end of that, and that is education for success. So when it comes down to it, 5-step program, inspect and assess the tasks required for the project at hand or the job at hand. Number 2, assess the candidate's ability to fill that. Step 3, make sure we're going to go ahead, identify those skill gaps, the difference between 1 and 2. Number 4, sit down with the candidate, develop the game plan. Number 5, enact the game plan, give them assistance, and of course, most importantly, measure those milestones. That's success. Thanks again for learning with RTIlearning.com, and thanks to CNR Magazine for distribution of the series.
And you're recording there.
All right.
You got a snap. So this is episode 16 for March 2023, How to Educate for Success.
That's got it. When it comes down to it. And I even said it right that time. Thanks for tuning in to another... Here we go again. Thanks for tuning in to another When It Comes On Down... I knew that was going to happen. It's him. It's when he's in the room. That's the problem. I know what it is now. But that's it. Thanks for tuning in to another When It Comes On Down to...
When it comes down to it.
It's kind of funny. You never say when it comes on down to it when you're normally talking.
It's like a weird thing, man. Here we go. Take 35.